What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Zhilei Zhang versus Joe Joyce 2, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the WBO Interim Heavyweight World Championship, and this fight is going to be Saturday, September 23rd, from the Wembley Arena in Wembley, London, England, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on ESPN Plus in the United States. And to get into both fighters' resumes, Zhilei Zhang, fighting out of China, holds a record of 25 wins with 1 loss and 1 draw, with 20 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked number 6 by BoxRec in the heavyweight division. In my opinion, he is either my number 5 or number 4th best heavyweight in the world right now, and he is the current WBO Interim Heavyweight Champion, obviously winning that title in his last fight, the first fight against Joe Joyce. So just again to his resume, his loss, his draw, and some of his best wins, Zhilei Zhang has a unanimous decision defeat to Filip Hrgović, his only defeat, and he really should have won that fight. He scored a knockdown. I thought he should have won a clear 8-4, 7-5 type fight with the knockdown, but all 3 judges didn't have it in his favor. And then his 1 draw, this was definitely a rightful draw. It was against Jerry Forrest. He scored like 3 knockdowns in the first couple rounds over Forrest, and then Zhang got severely tired, gassed himself out, and the only reason he got a draw in that fight was because he had those knockdowns. If not, he would have lost a clear like 7-3 type fight, because he was really gassed by the end of that fight. He had to be hospitalized, I believe so, because he was so dehydrated. But after that fight, he was sort of joking about it, saying that now he drinks like 2 gallons of water per day to stay hydrated. But yeah, Zhilei Zhang, his conditioning, although he looked severely gassed in the Filip Hrgović fight, was gasping for air in the 12th round and was not throwing punches, just moving around. Still, his conditioning looked better in that fight, and that was a much higher magnitude type of fight than the Jerry Forrest fight, but still, his conditioning has not looked that great. But when it comes to his best victories, obviously his best win to date is that 6-round TKO win over Joe Joyce in their first fight. Another one of his solid wins is a KO win over Scott Alexander in the first. He also has a TKO win in the second over Craig Lewis, a KO win over former Olympian Devin Vargas, and a unanimous decision victory over Andrei Rudenko. And to get on his opponent's resume, Joe Joyce, fighting out of England, holds a record of 15 wins, 1 loss, with 14 big wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked number 8 by BoxRec in the heavyweight division. He's just inside that top 10, I believe so. Joe Joyce was believed to be like a number 5 or number 4 ranked heavyweight up until he got that loss to Zhilei Zhang. But he's looking to get his spot back with a victory and revenge over Zhang. So he's the former WBO Interim Heavyweight World Champion until this is one and only defeat. As you all know, it came in that first fight against Zhang where he got TKO'd in the 6th, as I mentioned before. And to list some of his best victories, he has a very good win over former WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker, knocking him out in the 11th. He has a TKO win in 4 over heavyweight veteran Christian Hammer. He has a TKO win in 6, which is sort of a controversial stoppage over Carlos Takam. But that win, since has aged well, since Takam performed well against Arslan Bekmambetov and performed very well, getting an upset win over Tony Yoka. And then Joe Joyce has also defeated Daniel Dubois by KO in 11 rounds, and that's a very, very good win. He also does have a unanimous decision victory over former title challenger Brian Jennings, and a TKO win over Alexander Usanov in 3, a TKO win over 6 over a past prime former heavyweight champion Berman Stavern, and he also has a KO win in 5 over heavyweight veteran and overall sort of tough journeyman Aigo Kaladze. So when it comes to my opinion on this fight, I got to be honest, I really think the Big Bang Zhilei Zhang is going to get the job done again. I mean, if you really rewatch the first fight, he was tagging Joyce up. Joyce looked completely one-dimensional, and Joyce sort of has a style where it's like, I don't really think he's going to change that much from their first fight. So this sort of reminds me of when Adam Kovnatsky fought Robert Helenius. I obviously know that it's completely different styles, but it's sort of the same. I mean, heavyweights in there. One of them just had a slugfest style like Joyce did, which was Kownacki. I know Kownaki's a smaller, much more out-of-shape fighter than Joyce, but it's sort of the similar it's just really a similar situation. Kaunaki had that style where he just goes forward, slugs, gets hit a lot, but then comes out with the victory. Then when he went through some tough battles like Joe Joyce did, Joyce against Parker was a very tough fight. Against Carlos Takam, he was taking some shots. Against Dubois, and then ultimately accumulated in the Zhang fight where he was getting wobbled in the earlier rounds. His eye swelled up, was getting battered with that left hand, and he was clearly losing that fight. Although in the round before the stoppage he was having some success, his eye was just swollen shut, and they stopped the fight. So, I mean, Joe Joyce, when you think about how he's going to improve, I mean, I really don't think he can. I mean, I just don't. He's a very slow fighter. He's a plotter. And really the best things that made him win fights was his work rate and his chin. His chin really helped him throughout his career. He's never really been hurt up until that Zhang fight where he was getting wobbled in the first couple minutes of the first round. He was getting popped with big left hands by Zhang. And Zhang is a huge guy, 6'6", and weighing in at like almost 280 pounds. And it doesn't even look like when he throws that left hand, he just pushes out there. It doesn't even look like it's that hard of a punch. But, I mean, a 200 and almost 80-pound man hitting you, and he's dropping guys and hurting them like nothing with that big left hand of his. So that really goes to show how hard he hits. Obviously, he doesn't have power like Wilder, where Wilder just throws a wheeling shot and knocks guys out. His power is more tamed and technical. He fights out of the southpaw stance, and he's got very, very good accuracy with that left hand. And Zhang's chin is also very good. I mean, I think he only got dropped once in his pro career. That was in a 4-round fight earlier on in his career. But otherwise, when he's been fighting at the top level, he hasn't really been hurt in any of his fights. He was taking Joyce's shots like nothing. And like I said before, really the only way Joyce wins his fights is really with his work rate. And Zhilei Zhang was just completely parrying shots, not really being affected, because Zhang, I think when he would get hurt, it's either when he's extremely tired, which we didn't see in the first Joyce fight, or it's if it's like one big shot just rocks him, like the one time he got dropped. And I believe Anthony Joshua also dropped him with a big shot in the amateurs in their Olympic bout. But yeah, I mean, Zhilei Zhang, he was taking Joyce's shots like nothing. Joyce was trying to fight him with that style, but you got to remember, Zhang was the first guy that Joyce fought that was really like bigger than him. Most of the other guys that Joyce fought, I mean, they were big guys. It's not like Joyce was fighting small heavyweights, but he was the bigger man. But I believe Zhang was the first guy of like real note that was heavier and just simply almost like the same height, if not a little bit taller, than Joe Joyce. But yeah, I mean, I really think this is an interesting fight. I'm very, very excited for it. I've been excited for it. I thought it was happening earlier in this month for some reason, but had to wait a few weeks until it's obviously happening this weekend, and I'm just very, very excited for it. And just to break this fight down round by round, when I think that the earlier rounds, Zhang is going to win again. I think that, or I actually think it's going to be a little bit closer, but I think Zhang's going to win them. I think that Joe Joyce is going to come out, try and fight a new style. I think he might take the first round just by utilizing this style that he's been sort of practicing. And like I said, I don't really think it's going to be too effective because I don't really think he's going to come in as reckless as he did in the first fight. But at some point in the fight, I feel like he's just going to break whatever style he was trying to fight with and whatever he's trying to fix on, and he's just going to try and just slug his way to victory, and I don't think it's going to end up working, and I'll get to that later. But the earlier rounds, I think, are going to be a little bit more competitive than the first fight. In the first fight, as we all know, Zhang was piecing up Joe Joyce with that left hand, and I think Joyce might take the first round in this one, and then Zhang might take rounds 2 and 3, just popping Joyce with that big left hand of his. And I think Zhang could be up 29-28 after 3. But who knows? These are heavyweights. We could see an early knockout for Zhang with that big left hand popping Joyce. Like, who knows? Joyce's chin could be gone from that first fight. And I know that Joyce didn't get dropped or like brutally knocked out in the first fight, but he was getting popped and wobbled numerous times in that fight. Specifically in the first round. I believe it might have been in the first round or the third round where he got wobbled bad, almost dropped in that fight with a big left hand from Zhang. So I think that early we could possibly see a big moment for Zhang, hurting Joyce. But like I said before, I don't really think Joyce is going to be too effective on Zhang in the earlier rounds, especially when Zhang has the most stamina. So I think Joyce might take the first round, but I think that Zhang's going to try and fight super technical in this one, just like the first fight, just trying to throw limited shots, conserve his energy as the time goes on, and just try and land meaningful punches. And I think that's what he's going to do. Just pop that left hand, stick to the same game plan as the first fight, and just try to not outwork Joyce, because Joyce is going to be the one throwing more punches, but Zhang is going to be the one that's more of an effective fighter in there. I really think that Zhang is going to be landing the better shots. Joyce is really not going to be able to keep up in terms of the better shots landed, because most of Joyce's shots that landed in the first fight were sort of parried, like I said before, off the gloves. And I think that in this fight from rounds like 4 and 5, I think it'll be kind of similar to the first fight, where Zhang is landing some good left hands on Joyce. And Joyce is just not really doing much better work back, and Zhang is going to be landing the more effective and more solid, powerful shots in those rounds, and I think Zhang will take them. But really in this fight, the question is, if Joyce is able to survive into the second half, can he pull off a stoppage over Zhang if Zhang gets super tired? Because that's really, like I said before, that's really the few ways I see that Zhang is going to get stopped, is if he's really tired or if he gets hit with a miracle punch. But if he gets tired late, and Joe Joyce is known for having a pretty good work rate, pretty good stamina, it could be very, very tough for Zhilei Zhang to win rounds. And he could be relatively inactive in those later rounds, like he was sort of against Filip Hrgović, which could have lost him that fight, or did lose him that fight in the judges' scorecards, even though I thought he won against Hrgović. Again, on the judges' scorecards, those later rounds must have been crucial because of how close they had it for Hrgović. But yeah, I think that rounds 4 and 5 will go to Zhang, and I think that after 5 it will be 49-46, could be 48-47 in favor of Zhilei Zhang. And then once the second half of the fight starts, I mean, this is what I think. I think that Joe Joyce is going to get hit with some big shots in that second half, and I just see Zhang stopping Joyce sort of in the similar amount of rounds. I don't see it being off of the eye or anything like that. I mean, it could be, but in the end, all that matters is that I'm picking Zhilei Zhang to win this fight by stoppage. Could be any way of stoppage. Could be corner stoppage, could be a brutal knockout, standing stoppage, whatever. I think Zhang is going to get his 21st knockout and 26th victory in this one. I just think that some fighters, just like as I mentioned before, like Adam Kovnatsky as an example, like they go through all these wars, they get hit in one fight really hard, and it just sort of breaks their chin. And I feel like we could see it in this fight. Zhang could be popping big left hands on Joyce in the first 4 or 5 rounds, and then once the second half is just about to start, like around round 6, 7, and 8, could be round 9 as well, from those early to sort of from those mid to sort of the start of the later rounds in this fight, I think Zhilei Zhang is going to get the stoppage victory over Joe Joyce. But like I mentioned before, if it does go later and Joyce is taking Zhang shots, it could be very, very interesting, and Joyce could mount a comeback. But what I think and what I'm going with is a Zhilei Zhang stoppage from the mid to start of the later rounds in this fight. If you made it this far in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could go hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and leave a comment on your prediction and your thoughts on my prediction as well. So overall, I believe that Zhilei Zhang, the Big Bang, is going to get yet another excellent victory over Joe Joyce, as I think he will stop Joyce once again, this time possibly from round 6 all the way up to rounds 8 or 9 to remain the WBO Interim World Heavyweight Champion. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.